you doing? I'm Keith Rose, CEO of Operant Networks. Real quick, show of hands, how many people either have solar, would like solar, or batteries, or EV chargers at their home? Yeah, favorable crowd. It's Bay Area. Okay, I'd say thank you because number one, thank you for the fight against climate change. You guys are doing a great job. Secondarily, I'd also thank you, a little selfishly, because you're helping to make Operant an extremely valuable company. Because we focus on the cybersecurity of critical infrastructure and specifically distributed renewables. So we have strong roots here in North Bay, especially in Sonoma. We had our original company we had together as a team was a solar technology company called Solmetric that was based in Sebastopol. And then prior to that, Randy, our CTO, and some of the folks on the engineering side are all graduates of the HP, Agilent, Keysight regime that was here. And so with Operant, we're kind of connecting those two worlds, the drive to enable and move forward the distributed renewable movement, but at the same time, the Agilent technology telecommunications background, especially with regards to cybersecurity. In the early days, not many people understood what we were talking about, frankly, except for the Department of Energy. So we spent a couple of years getting government contracts and grants from the DOE, which resulted in about $8 million to try to fight and tackle this problem. They see this as a tidal wave coming at them. And along the way, we were able to work with many of the national laboratories to test, validate our tech, and that led us to what was Exelon, now Constellation, who's a leading energy company in the US, who is a customer of ours, strategic partner, and also led our Series Seed round last September, which MSIV was able to participate in, thankfully. So again, we're focusing on the large trends that digitalization and decentralization have on on communications and cybersecurity. What that really means is the traditional way of connecting and communicating and dispatching a large power plant does not really translate to the modern and future electric grid. From that perspective, it's quite terrifying. So the way we address this problem, without getting too technical, is we have the unique ability through software and through a next generation networking technology that we borrow from academia to provide security and intelligence on every single piece of data. So in our world, software is applied out at the edge, which is out where the equipment is. Every piece of data, every data packet is signed and encrypted, which means it has true end-to-end security, whether you're using a private network, public internet, Starbucks, it doesn't matter for us. It also brings native resiliency, which, as we all know here in the North Bay, is needed for natural disasters, cyber attacks, how do you continue to communicate with the electric grid when things happen. And then also it has a term which we call governance, or a buzzword that is in the cyber world called zero trust, where every piece of data is authenticated. Who is allowed to do what with that data as it's flowing through the network? Now this translates over to lower capital costs for our customers, which are utility companies, large power generation companies, companies that will ultimately in the future be aggregating many of your solar devices. But the real value is in the complexity. So we did a large fleet deployment where we saved about 50% cost savings on the product side of what you would traditionally deploy with legacy approaches. But on the complexity side, on the labor side, we were talking pennies on the dollar. So it's not just about what we're saying. So the Department of Energy issued a report called the Solar Future Study about a year and a half ago that talked about how would you transition the electric grid from 4 to 40% distributed renewables. And in that lengthy 180-page report, there's one section there about cybersecurity. And it specifically called out our technology as potentially game-changing to enable the transition while at the same time protecting national security. And then also a company called Dragos, who's the leading authority in cybersecurity for critical infrastructure, tested our technology before we started deploying on some large power plants and called our technology inherently secure. Not only are we doing small distributed residential type stuff, we're also deployed on some large power generation facilities as well. Currently, we're on 26 large power plants, solar, wind, hydro. Number 26 is interesting because it's Limerick Nuclear Power Plant. where you're not remotely dispatching a nuclear power plant, but all the sensor data, all the telemetry data that feeds back into the control system uses our technology. We're contracted to do 70 of these large power plants, and that will translate in terms of power a little over 15 gigawatts of generation, which makes us probably the leading provider of this type of technology in the entire country. Well, that's it. Thanks.